You deserve this, Logan. You and all of your Weapon X comrades.
Hey everyone, Stacks here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have for you Wolverine #4 by Ben Percy. VIKTOR BOGDANOVIC is your artist, and Matthew Wilson is your color artist. Also, a shout out on this amazing cover by Adam KUBERT and Frank Martin. Of course, you know the deal. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and of course comment down below and let me know what you think about Ben Percy's run of Wolverine so far. And I will say that after the 4 books we've had, including this one, you've had 5 stories, and every single one of them I've enjoyed. I really enjoy what Ben Percy is bringing to Wolverine. I think it was a great idea that if you were going to put him on a team like X-Force, that you also had that same writer writing his solo series. And the reason I think that is because, like it or not, Wolverine is a linchpin to the X-Men. And if you go screwing up Wolverine, the rest of the franchise will suffer. I'll tell you, I think Ben Percy's done a great job so far, and I'm really interested to see where he's taking him, especially seeing some of the preview art for some of the covers that are coming out. Speaking of the art, I've enjoyed the interior pages by Adam KUBERT and VIKTOR BOGDANOVIC. They've both been really good. We've mostly seen Adam KUBERT so far just because the Pollen storyline was the one that he had, and now we're moving to the vampire storyline, which is going to mostly be done by VIKTOR BOGDANOVIC. You had that with Matt Wilson and Frank Martin as color artists throughout this series, and it's been really good so far. I've enjoyed it. Anyways, guys, enough said. Let's get into X-Men #4. X-Men #4 starts with Wolverine throwing Magneto's helmet before the Quiet Council and him basically having to answer for his sins of stealing said helmet. And Magneto starts on him saying, if you ever so much as... And Wolverine cuts him off and says, I got you drunk and stole your helmet. You once tore the adamantium off my skeleton. Call it square. And that's when Professor X steps up and says, look, we didn't invite you here to lecture you. We want to request that in the future, you work more cooperatively. And Logan makes it very clear he ain't about sitting here and holding hands and having long conversations about it. He's about results. He says, look, I put a stop to the Marauders getting hijacked, didn't I? Took out the Pollen Lab, didn't I? And Professor X kind of agrees, yeah, you did. All of these are matters of national security, and Wolverine's just like, look, talking gets in the way of doing. And as Magneto summons his helmet, he tells Charles, look, let the Barbarian go. He is a mindless weapon, just a blunt instrument. And Charles reaches out to Logan and tells him, look, please, this is a collective responsibility. When you publicly embarrass Magneto, you insult, you do all this, you hurt everything we're trying to build here. As Wolverine's walking away, he smirks a little bit as Magneto slides the helmet on, and he says in his mind to Charles, well, you're really not going to like the fact that I took a leak in Magneto's helmet. From there, we jump to an outpost in Canada, where it's basically a small bar that's out in the middle of nowhere. You got a bunch of truckers, loggers, survivalists, drifters. This is just where they go to get a drink on the frozen tundra kind of thing. And apparently this has been Wolverine's little getaway for a while. Well, as Logan walks in this joint, he grabs a handful of quarters, pumps them in the jukebox, and immediately starts taking crap from this guy about it. Well, this guy goes and threatens to unplug the box, and, well, Logan has to tell him, if you do that, I'll rip your tongue out, and then we can both enjoy the silence. And dude doesn't even hesitate. He just takes the pool stick and smacks it right across the back of Wolverine's head. That is what I would call a highly ineffective course of action. Well, Wolverine actually plays it pretty cool, and rather than just, making a shish kebab out of this guy, just goes up and says, hey, I'd be upset if my drink spilled, but luckily it didn't, so now I'm just annoyed. And then he shows his adamantium forehead to the bridge of this guy's nose and just leaves him bleeding all over the snow. Well, it's after the guy stumbles out that Wolverine starts asking, he's like, what do you know about that guy? And bartender claims he doesn't know anything about him. And Wolverine just can't shake it. He's like, I know that stink from someplace. I just can't place it. Well, as Wolverine sits there, he starts noticing the people around the bar, and like I said, he just can't place them. And he mentions he has these holes in his memories. And then as people approach him and start talking to him, he feels the same way. Then he starts feeling really, really weird, like he's been drugged. Well, as he steps out, it sounds like a tree lands on top of the cabin. And Wolverine makes it to the bathroom and is, doing the I'm sick in the bathroom from drinking too much thing. And it's why he's in there that he notices blood in the bathroom. He looks up, steps around, opens the stall beside him, and dude has had a hole punched through his chest. Now, him being in the state he is, he doesn't even know at this point if he did it. I mean, he says to himself, look, I don't remember killing him at this point, but at this point, I barely have the sense to question whether somebody poisoned me or not. Well, Wolverine steps up to get a closer look, and he notices the tattoo on this guy's neck and immediately remembers Oregon a few years back, the Brotherhood Militia. And as he's sitting there noticing that, wouldn't you know it, some officer walks in and sees what's going on. Well, this officer had heard something in the woods earlier. He actually came upon an elk that had been absolutely slaughtered in the middle of the road and felt like something was watching him as he was investigating this. So he happened to have a tranquilizer with him. And of course, he pumps that thing right into Wolverine's neck. Well, as Wolverine comes to, he starts hearing the conversation, and he's immediately brought into it and told not to go claiming amnesty. And the three of these individuals know who Wolverine is. The officer, he's unaware at the time. Well, the bartender explains who Wolverine is, explains it that he's a mutant, that he comes in here once or twice a week from his mutant paradise on Krakoa, and that he has created a whole lot of chaos in his past. And because of that, he needs to pay for his crimes. They decide to ice him. And the officer's kind of like, you just said he can't be killed. He's like, you're not listening. We're in the frozen north. We need to literally ice him. We open up the ice, we drop him in it, and it's a life sentence for his crimes. Well, Wolverine already managed to recognize one of the individuals who was sitting there capturing a fly in a glass on the bar and then eating it, revealing himself to be absolutely crazy, was actually from Dunwich Sanatorium, which Wolverine was a resident of temporarily. And as they drag him out on the ice, you find out about the two other individuals. The bartender, for instance, his fiance was injured, blunt force trauma to the head, during a brawl that Wolverine was involved with in Madripoor. And once the blood clot passed, she ended up passing away. And you find out that there's a whole network of individuals out there from all these fights that have happened across the globe for individuals who have been negatively impacted by mutant violence or unintended consequences of mutant violence. Collateral damage, if you will. Well, as they cut into the ice, Wolverine finally tells them, look, you're right. Whatever you do to me, I deserve it. I've created a lot of mess in my life. I deserve every kind of pain. I've done wrong. Mutants have done wrong. But for what it's worth, we're trying to do better. And the bartender comes out and says, you say that, but then you go right ahead, turn around, and you kill Fred. And Wolverine's like, Fred? He's like, Fred, in the bathroom, have you already forgotten just one more notch in your belt? And Wolverine just gritting through his teeth saying, I didn't kill. And he sniffs the air and he just, oh no. And right as the bartender says, if you didn't kill him, then who? The officer's head comes just bouncing across the ice. And Wolverine starts yelling, you need to let me go now. I'm not worried about myself, dang it. I'm worried about you. Don't you understand? You're dead. You're all dead. As he drops below the ice, a tentacle comes out of nowhere and slaps right through the guy with a chainsaw. And you have Omega Red just ripping through the three of them as Wolverine realizes that he's guilty of the same thing he's been criticizing Krakoa about the whole time, letting down his guard and thinking that he was safe. And Omega Red steps up over the hole and says, I've been following you, Logan, and I know why you come here. Because you and I, we're the same. We can only tolerate so much sunlight. Darkness is our truth. When you're at the bar, you're grinding a thumb onto the rotten parts of your heart and mind, and then anesthetizing your pain with liquor. I've also come to drink, but instead of rot gut whiskey, I'm drinking pain, and your pain is delicious. And you have this entire army of vampires coming up the ice to where Omega Red is standing. And if you remember back to Wolverine number 1, Omega Red is basically under the thumb of Dracula. Dracula provided him with a carbonadium synthesizer, but it's got a bomb in it. So he's stuck obeying Dracula. He is a pawn to him. In that same book, it also discussed that Wolverine is essentially a close relative to vampires. His blood is essentially the opposite of the blood that is infected by vampires. It's a really interesting white page. And I suspect that what Dracula is going to do is try to take Wolverine, use him to get rid of their huge limitation of sunlight. That didn't sound right. He's not going to eliminate sunlight. He's going to eliminate their vulnerability to sunlight. Anyways, I really think this is an interesting storyline. I'm stoked to see where Benjamin Percy is taking Wolverine, this Wolverine versus Dracula storyline, throwing Omega Red in there. It is going to be intense. It's going to be just, when Wolverine finally gets to whip the claws out on Omega Red, it is not going to be pretty. But who knows? Omega Red may have had a change of heart. He is no longer absorbing life force from beings. He's surviving off animals like he said he was. That elk is proof of that. Anyways, guys, make sure you go pick up Wolverine number 4 from Benjamin Percy and VIKTOR BOGDANOVIC. Definitely worth your time. Definitely a good read, and definitely something you need to add to your pull list, because if it's got Benjamin Percy's name on it at this point, you got to pick it up. X-Force and this are leading the way as far as Dawn of X goes. If you haven't yet, make sure you jam that subscribe button. Leave a like. Comment, of course, down below. Tell me what you think. Where are we heading with this vampire storyline? Want to hear from you. That's all I got. Real Comic Stacks. Out.